Lil Durk reportedly said, "You at Oblak that are not willing to slide for Von. I'm going to get hits on you guys." Chicago streets are never peaceful. But when his name is associated with violence, the situation becomes even more dire. According to rumors, Durk made a terrifying vow to the Oblak members that they would not stand with King Von. Additionally, fresh video has emerged that demonstrates exactly what Durk did to them. We know every detail. Let's dissect it. When the streets start to turn against one another, what would happen if the city's largest guy began to move on his own soldiers? When you are suddenly targeted by the identical blocks that helped you blow up? Today, we're breaking down one of the most bizarre drill rap scenarios ever. It has also been reported that Lil Durk was not merely squabbling with the police. For one shocking reason, he allegedly targeted his own Oblak friends. For King Va, they weren't sliding hard enough. Family, this isn't your typical street politics. This is about how one of Chicago's most renowned rappers supposedly became something far more evil due to suffering, paranoia, and the unwritten rule of the trenches. The most outrageous aspect is that all of the receipts are present in federal court documents, SMS, and snitches prepared to testify, and an entire operation that was only halted when 12 arrived at precisely the right moment. Let's review this. Lo is currently dealing with a lot of legal issues. As we have discussed, he is currently incarcerated. According to Caressa, prosecutors have now also claimed that he hit Oblak members for failing to exact revenge for King Von's passing. I will say it aloud. However, we must first comprehend how we got here before delving into these startling claims regarding internal hits. Because betrayal is not where the story of Durk reportedly turning his strap on Oblak begins. The story begins with genuine ties, early allegiance, and brothers who grew up together in the riskiest areas of Chicago's South Side. Growing up in Englewood, where the Black disciples controlled everything. Lil Durk was born Durk Devontae Banks in 1992. However, by the DVDs had divided into numerous smaller groups by the time Durk was coming up. And they essentially moved like distinct families, tight as hell, but always willing to pick fights. Lamar Durk was straight. Backwards from 63rd and Normal, that is typical. A BD set that was early on that drill wave and had true hustlers. Durk founded the family back in 2010 when he was just 18, more as a street crew than a label. However, it gained significant traction when it connected with Oblak. The infamous Parkway Gardens projects that became the epicenter of drill music. An entire generation of artists channeled their suffering into harsh drill in Oblak, named after Odie Perry, who was assassinated in 2011. The area was essentially a war zone, with poverty, police raids, and frequent gunshots, rhythms, and authentic street stories. Lamron and Oblak joined together to form what everyone referred to as the 300 in Coalition. In essence, ABD supergroup that gathered resources for both street business and music. Then King Von appeared. Van was Oblak's storyteller and the rapper that turned the harshest moments of drill music into poetic moments. He was born Devin Bennett in 1994. It was the ideal situation. When Durk signed Von to F through Empire Distribution in or around 2017, Van's genuineness as a real BD from the trenches brought that street credibility you can't fake. And Durk gave Von a way out of Oblak's never-ending cycle of cases and violence. Their early songs together, such as Crazy Story from 2018 version, became the face of BD drill music and went viral on YouTube, garnering millions of views. Van's bars reinforced the impression by discussing Oblak 400 warriors in a very specific way. When it came to the GD operations, Lemon and Oblak were meant to be inseparable. F was essentially acting as a BD extension behind the scenes, collecting bread for attorneys, discussing the idea of slipping in music like it was money, and filming movies on Oblak property to demonstrate their control. But that solidarity, which had been based on protection and shared suffering, is about to be destroyed in the most brutal way imaginable. November 6, 2020. The day that everything was different. Outside of an Atlanta stadium, King Von was smoked. Hookah lounge after engaging with the people of Quando Rando. Surveillance cameras captured the entire incident, which occurred outside the Opium Hookah Lounge on Campbell Road at approximately 3:26 in the morning. There was a full-scale altercation between Van and one of Rando's men, Timothy Leaks, followed by shooting. Everything went left in a matter of seconds. Leaks produced a 9mm Glock and fired 6 rounds into Van's knees and torso, all point blank. Van's white tee was covered in blood when he hit the floor. This is where things become complex, though. Just as the shots were being fired, the Atlanta Police Department arrived. Additionally, amid the confusion, one cop killed Leaks with gunfire as Vaughn was already gravely injured. The autopsy revealed that Leaks' gunshots, not the cops, killed Vaughn. Despite all the allegations that were going about, it struck with the force of an earthquake. In a few hours, more than 10,000 posts calling on Oblak to exert pressure on Rondo made the hashtag slide for Von Tren. While Durk was in grief, he openly posted condolences on Instagram and released an emotive song about what happened to Virgil that peaked at number 18 on the Billboard charts. However, something odd began to happen. On the inside, a completely other feeling was growing: pure annoyance. According to federal documents submitted in October 2025, Durk allegedly became irate with Oblak members for what he perceived to be their failure to adequately compensate for Van's passing. You see, on their homeworld, blood contains a code printed on it. You don't hesitate to retaliate violently and instantly when someone touches your people. According to the feds, Durk believed that Oblak was not abiding by that code. In actuality, it simply occurred as it did. For example, it has nothing to do with age or anything like that. Vaughn's situation changed when he put Floyd Mayweather on the mother. What did he do well? What did the young boy do for everyone? He and I thought we wanted to kill each other. Detention worsened after another significant loss in June 2021. And Durk's half-brother was killed in Chicago. It was 27 o'clock when the sun came out. According to reports, Durk became even more apprehensive after this tragedy, which may have been related to the growing GDD rivalry and Van's unsolved murder, since the police were everywhere after Vaughn's death. He began to see Oblak's relative silence as weakness, snitching, and outright betrayal rather than caution. It was becoming more difficult to ignore rumors of inside Oblak friction by 2022 and 2023. The seemingly unshakable partnership was beginning to exhibit serious weaknesses. Durk and other Lamrun guys anticipated Oblak to be as energetic as they were. However, Oblak's intense police presence following Van's passing caused everyone to behave differently. This hesitancy, this caution, this survival strategy. According to reports, Durk thought it was inexcusable. It is said that things took a bad turn at that point. A turn that would be recorded in text messages that were encrypted. A turn with cash per body, scheduled hits, and purchased whips. A turn that was only halted by one object: CPD arriving at precisely the wrong or ideal time. Prosecutors claim they have proof that Durk directed violence against Oblak members who were failing to appropriately retaliate for Vaughn, according to a government brief filed on October 6, 2025. Additionally, the government named Jalen Carson, rapper Munna, Oblak member, and Van's friend as the primary targets of Vaughn's diss recordings, which were perceived as all cap rather than actual action. Lil Durk reportedly said, "I'm going to get hits on you because you aren't willing to slide for Vaughn." Allegedly. By the way, some gangster, I won't even lie, since you guys aren't doing what they're ordering you to do. They're not listening to Lil Durk, the Godfather, so he would like to put hits on his own, essentially his own hood. However, we are overly optimistic. We need to know how strong the federal case against Durk is before we go into those crazy text conversations from April 2023. Those canceled hit plots and the cooperating witness who is willing to disclose everything. Because these purported internal hits are only a single component of a much larger picture that the government has been piecing together. Murder for pay, smuggling bodies across state lines, and sufficient proof that might result in Durk's life in prison. The feds make their argument. Lil Durk's murder for hire case isn't just another rap case, my friend. This is the result of years of research into what federal prosecutors describe as F. Acting as a criminal organization that used targeted strikes to compel allegiance. The shooting in August 2022 in Los Angeles, which was intended to capture Quando Rondo, but instead killed the wrong person, lies at the heart of it all. Lil Durk. Lil Durk killed. One is the attorneys for Lil Durk. Lil Durk has been incarcerated since his arrest last year on suspicion of murder for a larger scheme. According to authorities, he allegedly encouraged his crew members to take a plane from Chicago to Los Angeles in 2022 in order to murder Quando. Rondo. Durk was charged with conspiracy to commit murder for pay and using interstate facilities for murder for hire on October 24, 2024. In a federal court in Central California, the allegations are related to the incident that occurred on August 19, 2022, when Rondo and his small crew stopped at a gas station on Vineland Avenue in North Hollywood while on a West Coast tour. The gas station camera's surveillance traces a Hyundai Sonata, a rental Toyota Camry, and two black whips through toll booths, recordings around the lot on their way back to Chicago. Then, at 8:47 p.m., 5 masked shooters with extendos on their Glocks and all-black ski masks emerge from the cars. They fire 18 shots in 12 seconds flat as Rondo pours gas. Rondo, who has been grazed but is still alive, dives behind his car. However, Rondo's 20-year-old cousin Savia Lil Pab Robinson, a budding rapper, was fatally shot in the head and chest. He fell into a pool of blood while onlookers yelled and dispersed. At the site, paramedics called it. This is where things start to become really interesting. Prosecutors used digital evidence and a lengthy financial trail to directly link Durk. 5 Chicago gunmen allegedly used F corporate cards to pay $22,000 for one-way flights from O'Hare to Lax on August 17th, which they bought through Expedia under false pretenses. A further $15,000 allegedly went to the Hollywood Roosevelt for stays and burner phones. Snitches claim that the additional $13,000 for rental cars and equipment equates to straps. However, the true smoking gun was a wire transfer made on August 10th from Durk's personal Chase account to F treasurer Kuda B, which is DeAndre Wilson. 9 days before the shooting, Von Fun was remembered. According to IRS subpoenas, these transfers correspond with increases in streaming revenue in 2022. Additionally, the indictment states Durk's street talk for permanently marking a victory through death. The oversight was made remotely using iCloud extractions from his confiscated iPhone 14, which showed FaceTime calls to the hit squad and a route with messages like "Stay low," "Make it clap for the gang," and post-shooting texts celebrating. "We etched that GD." Durk isn't dealing with these accusations alone, though. 5 affiliates were named as co-conspirators in the indictment, which included 6 defendants in all. The F-Money man, DeAndre Kuda B. Wilson, is accused of wire fraud in connection with the $50,000 payout. Durk's security guard, Antonio Boone Mo Jones, is charged with monitoring Rondo's trip itinerary. FF's road manager, Devin Zoo Collier, is suspected of operating the getaway whip. Additionally, 2 shooters, Asa and Keith, 5 Thomas Lamron shorties with Juvie Records, Barnes. Initially, all 5 were found not guilty in December 2024. Here's the game changer, though. As the first prosecution witness, Keith Thomas turned in March 2025, providing more than 200 hours of taped calls that he claims were Durk's approvals of the green light. It seems that the prosecution in Lil Durk's case is now making fresh claims that he targeted O-Block members. Let's read this article from the original source to learn more about it. Federal prosecutors have apparently made severe accusations against Lil Durk, saying he ordered blows on O-Block members for not retaliating after King Von's on a Lativ. Perhaps you're wondering why we're not yet heard of a trial. In any case, Durk's case has been postponed 3 times since 2024. The court cited the uncommon and complex nature of the case, the volume of evidence, and the number of co-defendants as the reasons for moving the trial from its original October 2025 start date to January 2026. The trial for Durk, which was originally set for August of this year, has been rescheduled for January of 2026. The uncommon and complicated nature of the case, the volume of evidence, the number of co-defendants, and other factors are said to have contributed to the delay. They want this to be completely disregarded. There's more, though. And Durk is still at the Metropolitan Correctional Center, sitting in the hole. His offer of a $500,000 bond was turned down, with $3 million in assets, private aircraft to Dubai, and a history of witness intimidation. Prosecutors are portraying him as a flight risk. Bond hearings have already been turned down 4 times. However, Durk's legal team hasn't been sitting on their hands. Drew Finneling, the same attorney who represents Y.W. Melly, is in charge of the team. Since October 2024, they have filed 5 motions, combining discovery disputes with constitutional arguments. Greg Watkins, the grumpy hip-hop insider, has revealed that Durk's legal team is attempting to get the case dismissed. They contend in a recent filing that the indictment lacks sufficient specificity to enable them to adequately prepare for trial. According to the accusation, the co-conspiracy executed a number of actions carried out under Mr. Banks' supervision, including flying to Los Angeles, tracing, stalking, and trying to shoot Furano, as well as obtaining the weapons and supplies necessary to do so. It doesn't provide any details. Their most recent action, a motion to dismiss all allegations alleging Brady violations, was filed on October 7, 2025. At that point, they conceal information that could be useful to you, according to what the defense refers to as coercive flip-flopping for immunity. Durk knew nothing about the logistics, despite PW1's initial claim to the contrary in later tapes. In his 45-page brief, attorney Drew Finneling goes nuts. Although the indictment claims that the co-conspiracy committed a number of crimes under Mr. Banks' supervision, it provides no details. When, where, how, and to whom did Mr. Banks issue these claimed directions? They are also contesting the iPhone extractions, claiming that 70% of the digital evidence is tainted and that Durk's detention at a traffic check in Florida lacked genuine probable cause. A partial suppression order in February 2025 resulted in 20% of the texts being redacted. Durk, however, wants everything discarded. There's more. Correctional guards confiscated Durk's Apple Watch with cellular in late August 2025 even. More outrageous is the claim that Durk attempted to destroy and harm the device before the federal authorities could inspect it after they apprehended him. Furthermore, there have been rumors that Lil Durk was caught using an Apple Watch while incarcerated. Let's review this then. The people who prosecute are claiming that in August, Lil Durk was found in possession of an Apple Watch and attempted to destroy it before the police could take it away. They made the allegation in a motion asking for a hung jury for his next trial. They contend that there is a chance of witness manipulation because of the purported occurrence. This is being used to support their claim that he remains dangerous and still thwarts justice while incarcerated. Durk is facing serious charges. Conspiracy to commit murder for hire carries a minimum 10-year sentence under 18 U.S.C. Section 1958. However, he might face a life sentence if found guilty of the real murder for pay. My guy, that's why the stakes are so high. However, hold on. We haven't yet reached the most outrageous aspect of this entire tale, the section purportedly demonstrating that Durk pursued more than simply exterior operations. The section about the texts in April 2023. The section on O-Block prosecutors claim that Durk was reportedly plotting something even more bizarre during the time that all of this was taking place, and the federal probe into the Rondo shooting was developing. It was stated that he intended to kill members of his own team. There's more. They claim there is evidence that Durk Banks ordered and directed violence against rivals, and stated there is proof connected to Durk bounty for Stephen Mack's murder. Recall that they are still using this even though he is not being charged for it. Wilson's court documents from October 2025 and the charges in U.S. v. Montgomery, filed on January 27, 2022, described text exchanges from April 2023 in which Durk allegedly vented his annoyance at O-Block members for failing to appropriately retaliate for Van's death. In one discussion, Durk allegedly texted, "I'm going to pipe it up," street slang for "I'm about to start shooting or starting violence." Family, consider the implications of this. Street politics and gang feuds are no longer the exclusive topics of conversation. We are discussing an artist who is purportedly so obsessed by the need to return that. He turned his back on those who had contributed to the establishment of his empire. In opposition to O-Block, the location where King Von was born. Against the coalition that initially made it feasible, there's more, much more. The streets are being tried. You're completely mistaken, my friend, if you believe that the story ended with the purported O-Block plans, because prosecutors are getting ready to present another piece of evidence at trial. Direct threats to operations, direct messages on Instagram, and what the child government refers to as Durk's habit of releasing colleagues to track and hunt adversaries are all part of this. Around the same time as the purported O-Block schemes in April 2023, Durk was in a different text thread with 5 F members, Boone, Mo, and Zoo. Prosecutors claim that Durk posted a screenshot of an Instagram direct message he received to Richard Richo Ramsey, an officer from the Lamon 600,051 neighborhood of Chicago, who had a tenuous connection to Van's suspected assassins. He sends Racho Lamron a screenshot of an Instagram message he sent that reads, "I got them hunting. I got them hunting you. I got them hunting you up. Ads better have 3 ski masks on." This is interpreted as, "I got people hunting you. You better have 3 ski masks on to hide during an attack." And someone else. Wear 3 ski masks. In addition, this man was being pursued. Lamron 300 in retro mode. Lamron 300 Racho. This DM, according to the prosecution, shows Durk letting go of associates to track operations. Like the Rando Pab storyline, in which the shooters were given ski masks, Boone Mo allegedly responded that hunting season was connected to the masks. And the thread's discussion purports to commemorate or arrange follow-ups to the Pab slaughter. Ironically, Rico, the object of this purported threat, publicly posted a free smirk on social media in October 2025, suggesting the threat might have been all fluff instead of genuine action. However, prosecutors contend that what counts in court is that the intent was evident. According to reports, Durk was going to switch on his TV. Away, rock his snotbox. Music, all of them are accusations. Most likely, falsehoods. Durk, the kind brother, would never act in such a manner. Durk is a devout man. That will hurt us. Don't let that hurt us. Durk informed him that 3 people wearing ski masks would be approaching him. Add up these dates. I understand your thoughts now. How can all of this be admitted in court? Family, this is when things become complicated legally. Prosecutors are attempting to use this as further evidence under subsection B of the Federal Rule of Evidence, which permits proof of past wrongdoing to illustrate your predisposition for criminality, but also your motive, intent, and lack of error. In other words, they want to show the jury, see, this wasn't just one isolated occurrence with Quando Rondo. Durk saw a trend. He uses F to finance violence. He speaks in coded terms, such as hunting and pipe it up. For hits, he supplies resources, whips, and straps. And he keeps doing this, whether it's against internal homies who let him down, or against external operators. However, Durk's defense unit is putting up a fierce fight. They contend that these bits of information are unsupported by snitch assertions, lack context, and break discovery standards. They are attempting to obtain this. Excluded evidence was described as lurid spillage and prejudicial excess, intended to agitate the jury rather than educate them. Judge Carter will decide what evidence can be used at trial. During a pivotal hearing on November 18, 2025, there is a 70% possibility that this case will go to trial with the majority of the evidence still in place. According to legal commentators who give the dismissal motion a 30% chance of success. But my buddy, this is where it gets even more tricky. Citing threats from Durk's fans, prosecutors also submitted a motion asking for an anonymous jury for Durk's trial. Yes, you heard correctly. Federal officials are being threatened by fans. And it's a little crazy. Here's where the stands are located, and you are aware that you have admirers. Fans are not like this. According to the FBI, Lil Durk's supporters have threatened to harm a judge and a prosecutor while the rapper is still in jail for his murder trial. That's crazy. In this case, the judge and prosecutors are being genuinely intimidated by fans. That isn't a fan. It's a stand. A psychopath. That's what. Correct. Numerous individuals called the Central District of California court and left, threatening voicemails for the magistrate and the court. According to FBI reports submitted to the court.